let's go ahead and dive into our article, and we will talk about a senator who has no clue what he's talking about. We're not going to spend too much time on this because you've probably seen this story about 10 times in the last couple of months, but it's another interesting one. Senator highlights Bitcoin's battle in shedding criminal baggage. Senator Chuck Grassley is using deeply flawed estimates of illicit Bitcoin activity to call for closer scrutiny of the industry, according to multiple crypto intelligence firms. A senior U.S. senator characterization of Bitcoin in illicit transactions highlights the uphill battle crypto faces in breaking the seedier assumptions of its Silk Road past. Last Thursday, Senator Chuck Grassley, the Senate Judiciary Committee's top Republican, warned the Biden administration acting drug czar that Bitcoin is fueling $76 billion in illegal transactions. By the way, what kind of awesome name is that, drug czar? Like, that's a title, apparently. Apparently, if you work in the U.S. government, you can get a title, drugs. I don't know. That's just interesting to me. He cited a researcher who used 2017 data to determine that nearly half of all Bitcoin activity is illicit. What makes cryptocurrency dangerous, and I'm quoting here, is that users have the ability to remain anonymous, Grassley said in an open letter to the Office of National Drug Control Policy Acting Director Regina LaBelle. He warned this feature makes it difficult for investigators to detect and catch narcos. However, Bitcoin is far from an anonymous system. Indeed, a former Justice Department honcho, Katie Huan, recently argued in the New York Times Bitcoin's pseudonymous and public ledger have made it easier for federal authorities to track down ransom paid to the hacking groups that ground the Colonial Pipeline to a halt. In fact, it's really funny because if you read on here, those figures, who are based on outdated and deeply flawed analysis, said Tom Robbins, the chief scientist for Virginia-based investigation company Elliptic, which has counted the several U.S. agencies, including the DEA, the IRS, ICE, and FBI as clients. Their agents know firsthand that Bitcoin is highly traceable. So this is a great example of a senator not knowing what he's talking about, because his own federal agents say, no, actually, you're wrong, because we use the traceability of Bitcoin to catch criminals. Case closed. It's completely false. If anybody ever tells you that Bitcoin is predominantly used for illicit activity, they're wrong. The research is completely invalid. And if they say that it can't be tracked, Bitcoin was specifically designed so that every single transaction could be recorded so that this kind of issue would not be an issue.
I think something to keep in mind when we're thinking of this issue is this is really going to allow the government to show their full colors, their true colors. Because if their goal is to stop illicit activity, Bitcoin is clearly better at helping trace. If their goal is to catch the bad guys, because crime is going to happen.
Yep.
It's going to happen with crypto, but they'll be able to catch them more frequently. Here is what the government will not like, and this will show their true colors. Did they want to catch the bad guy, or did they want to add to their pocketbook? Because that is something they will not be able to do. Is they'll be able to catch the bad guy. They just, instead of like, if I catch a drug lord with U.S. dollars, I can now put that in the U.S. Treasury and use it for whatever the government wants to use it for. If I catch a guy using Bitcoin, I can't get that money because I do not have access to his wallet. So this whole thing is really a battle of what is the true meaning? What is the true war on crime? Is it to get rid of the criminals, or is it to put more money in the government's pocket?
Yeah, and to put more power in their pockets, because I love what Tim said there. This really is a way to show their character, because if our government really cared so much about catching criminals, and that was really their prime directive, they would be thrilled about Bitcoin. In fact, if that was really the prime directive of the government to stop criminal activity, which in my opinion should be, if not the number one, at least in the top 3 priorities of a national government, they would move to adopt Bitcoin over the U.S. dollar, because Bitcoin is far easier to trace than the U.S. dollar ever has been. If we had philosophical consistency on Capitol Hill, obviously we could all agree that the world will be a much better place. However, we are seeing people and senators from both sides, by the way. This is not a political issue. This is simply an uninformed issue. We're seeing people on both sides not having any idea what they're talking about. So that's just our breaking news that we wanted to start with. It's something that you guys have seen before, but it is now happening again. With that said, Matt C. just donated another $9.99. My friend, you have deep pockets, and we are very thankful, because your deep pockets keep us in business. I swear, like half of our revenue at this point comes from Matt C. This dude's single-handedly keeping the lights on. He says, I guess we should ban the dollar since it's been used for money laundering since, I don't know, forever. And it's untraceable. Exactly my point. Absolutely, Matt C. I love it. Guys, the government's prerogative should be to protect the best interests of the citizenry. However, the problem with our nations is that their prerogative now is to increase their own power any way that they can. That is where our governments are going, and make absolutely no mistake, the thing that allows them to do that is their control over the currency. If the nations of the world don't have control over the currency and the printers of that currency, then they lose the ability to be in the sole business of increasing their own power to our detriment. If we, the people, have control over the currency, then the nations are forced to work for us rather than looking at us as simple taxpayers that keep them in power.